You've probably seen us all over the racing world and doing a lot of You've probably seen us all over the racing world and doing a lot of racing designs for events and race teams, but we also do a lot of stuff from small boutiques in small cities all the way up to Fortune 500 companies. Your brand deserves to be seen. We print on more than just shirts, hats, jackets, bags, and much, much more. Custom corporate branding starts here.
I'm Jeff Gordon, and you're watching Racing America.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to your favorite weeknight racing talk show. This is the Revved Sports Show from Texas. Showtime Bobby Chappie right here. The Iceman Roddy Rodriguez there on your left side of the screen. And happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and soon to be Happy New Year. My brother, my partner. How's it going over there today? You seem a little flustered today. You got your New Year's all wrapped up and ready to go?
Yeah, just there you go.
Right on cue, baby.
Yeah, I tell you, never fails. Yeah, man, wrapping up already 2026 coming up, man. 2025 has just absolutely flown by, it seems like to me. It's been, I mean, seriously, it's like you blink and boom, here we are at the end of the year. I mean, it's crazy how fast things go nowadays, isn't it?
No, I'm just been ready for 2025 to be over. Been a hectic year in 3 weeks, so I'm ready for another new start there. Granted, I start 2026 off with a funeral on Saturday, but I mean well, par for the course.
Yeah, there you go. But and that's what we'll do tonight. We'll just kind of talk about the year in racing and local, regional. I mean, obviously. The national thing with NASCAR, I think we know kind of what this year is going to have the stamp on it for. But luckily that's been rectified. And before we dig it, speaking of NASCAR, before we dig in too deep, man, you want to talk about, for Denny Hamlin, for folks that may not be a fan of Denny Hamlin, I mean, kind of along the lines of what you're talking about there, Bobby, that dude right there, that's, it's been a rough little stretch here for him. I know the court case thing ended up in a better way for him, but the sad news there about his dad, who was already not, in the best spot. But dude, it's been tough for old DH.
Yeah, it's definitely not the way you want to end anything. But it's been we saw the emotion and the struggle and everything else with that win back in October there in Las Vegas, where he just wasn't himself. He was showing some vulnerability. And the fans instantaneously gravitated towards that. And now the news of the house fire and the loss of his dad and the injury to his mom, I mean, that's not good. I mean, I can understand the grief that he's going through, but it's, I'm telling you, dude, it's rough. Like I text you, I mean, I hope the guy comes back stronger and better than ever, but I don't know. It wouldn't be surprising me if after the new year, we see Heim time in the 11.
Yeah, I really thought that, just the emotions that we saw from him just at different times, and then everything at the end of that, final cup race. I don't know how he comes back, to be honest with you, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but I think the dude's probably done at this point. I mean, just get away.
Emotionally, just wore out.
Yeah, and it's he doesn't hide his emotion. He doesn't hide his opinions. He doesn't do any of that. And I think that's where it just may be time for him to do something else, because this will take a toll. The sport in and of itself takes a toll, especially at that level. And I think that, yeah, he may be done. He may be done, but we'll see. We shall see. But all the best to Denny. That really sucks.
Yeah, definitely not a good thing. Rough couple of weeks for NASCAR community as a whole. You've got to deal with Biffle and his family right there before the holidays, and then you've got the Denny Hamlin deal right during the middle of the holidays. But as we've seen, we are definitely a great big family, right? I mean, we see it on the national level, local level. Families fight and bicker from time to time and different deals, but at the end of the day, everybody's there for everybody else. When they're in need. So we've seen it for generations of racers. We'll see it a generation racers to come. And, it's just a sad, unfortunate deal. I mean, I mean, life is not easy. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, you can only hope the best with that. And again, for us to us to just kind of projecting what may happen or may not happen with Denny, moving forward. I mean, that's just part of what we do on here. That's obviously something that's going to be talked about right off the bat. But I think it just gets at some point to where it's just a little too much. And but we'll follow that and see how all that shakes out. So for 2025, so that's racing has changed so much to where it doesn't really matter the level, but now anything that you do is going to be, there's going to be so many people that see it. There's going to be so many people that have opinions and so many people that have different kind of thoughts. Your thoughts on just kind of the 2025, if you can sum it up. I mean, just across the board, just with the sport in general, and then we can kind of go and break it down more by region. But I tell you, it's complicated, right? I don't remember racing being this complicated back in the day.
Disorderly chaos, I think,
Yeah.
is or organized chaos, I think, could be a better way to describe it. When you had the lingering black cloud of the NASCAR stuff, the NASCAR court stuff with the charters, and then locally had so many racetracks closing over the course of 2025, and unfortunately, we've seen some on social media. That's the way there at 26 is starting out for a couple of different racetracks we've seen so far. So, I mean, it's just the new car blues. You had just all different kind of stuff on the national scales, and sanctioning bodies fighting each other over racing engine seals and dates and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's been a pretty hectic year to keep everything in line. The sport still moves on, and we're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, that's the thing about it to where there is, it's just I think it's just gotten so competitive. And again, we're talking about racing because racing is competitive. But when you talk about like what you're talking about there, we can say on the asphalt side, like we talk about super late models all the time, to where at one point, I mean, you did have, we talk about back in the 80s and 90s to where you had ASA and All Pro, but that was geographically, they geographically worked well at that point, because you had the North and the South, and then they would come together and run the North versus South, whatever you wanted to call it. But now with ASA and with UARA and the various little offsprings of that with Southern Super Series and CRAs and all of that, it's just so competitive, and it is to where I think 2025, where I really look at that part of the sport, is where I watch, is they're trying to one up each other, and they're not working together, which I totally understand. It's a business. They're trying to drive revenue and trying to make their series the best that they can make it. But it just seems like ultimately the ones that lose out on this, drivers have to pick which way they want to go. Teams have to decide who they want to align with. And at the same time, I think fans feel torn to where it's like, you can't be a fan of both. You know what I mean? To where it's like last year in the Super Bowl, Philadelphia and Kansas City. It's like, who do you feel less agony cheering for? And I think that sometimes that's what happens when it comes to pavement late model or super late model racing, to where it's like, you want to enjoy ASA or you want to enjoy Ricky's series, but you feel like you're doing the other one wrong. You know what I mean? That's what kind of sucks with that. That's just my opinion. I don't know. It's
like the old days where you couldn't be an IndyCar fan and a NASCAR fan, or you couldn't be a drag racing guy and you couldn't be a circle track guy. Now you see the divide starting to grow again, where you can't be a dirt guy, you can't be an asphalt guy, can't like both.
Yep.
So, there for a while, man, like at the end of the pandemic, we talked about the rising tide raises all boats. Racing as a whole was up. Everything was up. Then when the world started opening back up, especially now 5 years later, it's back to where it was, in 2018, 2019, where there's so much stuff to do, and the battle for entertainment dollars and entertainment value is back at its peak. And, there's so much stuff to see on TV. You've got, it's easier to sit at home and cheaper to watch it on an 85-inch TV than it is to sit there and watch it live and in person. And you don't have to deal with people, and you don't have to do anything. But, I mean, it's time for everybody to kind of get their ducks back in a row and make this deal better for everybody.
Yeah, and it's not only with the stuff that we're talking about, but you look at, I mean, because now, I mean, we just saw during the week where the Whelen Modified that they're going to go to American Racer, and that's something that we've seen brewing for a little bit, to where you have the inner, and again, I know it's a business part of it, but you kind of have that, well, Hoosier does this, well, American Racer is like, okay, we're going to do this, and that's where all of that continues to happen, and ultimately that it causes divide amongst the troops, and that's, you know, like the supers that we're talking about. I mean, you've got these huge series, and I think that that's one of the things when you talk about kind of a divide between them. I mean, if you have teams, and there are teams that do run both of them, they're on different tires, and I know that one series is, you know, strongly advocates a lack of practice, a lack of track time, and all of that, which ultimately does save you know, teams money, but yet the others completely on the other realm, to where it's like, you buy all the tires you want and do whatever, but it's tire stuff, it's engines, it's every aspect of bodies. I mean, bodies now is a very competitive business, to where it's all of these other things. Gone are the days of going to the pick and pull, you know, because I mean, even back in the day, the late model people went to pick and pull and got their shit, but you don't do that anymore. And I think that 2025 to me really intensified all of that, to where this became much more of a business. And I'm talking about even at the grassroots level, Bobby. I mean, you know it better than I do, because you were at the tracks all year. I mean, these guys go rolling up to the racetracks now, and this is a legitimate side hustle that they're doing. Not a hobby anymore. Now it's a legitimate side hustle.
Yeah, you legitimately have to want to do it. It's hard. I mean, you can't find, you know, even in some of the stock local grassroots classes, you cannot find the parts. You know, even if you're sponsored by an auto parts store, there's only so many parts and pieces you can get from the auto parts store. Everything becomes a way to be. Everything now is so purpose built and purpose for these race cars on, you know, bolted on purpose, that, you know, it's hard to find the parts. You got to order them out of a performance catalog. Well, it's a whole lot more expensive when you got to flip the page on a catalog than it is to go wrench it yourself out of the pick and pull. So
yeah, it's very weird to me, all these years down the road, to where, like let's just say crate engines, for example. And again, I think this is something in 2025 that really became something kind of brewing for a while. But you know, when the crate came about, it was, you know, a cost saving measure. It was something, cost saving measure and a competitive level at the same time as well, to where you couldn't do whatever. I mean, it eliminated a lot of hopefully some of the gray area stuff. You put a crate engine in there and you go. That was going to be your rule. But now, where it's gone to where you have teams that still want to save money, that don't want to have to allocate a lot of money, but they don't want to run a crate engine because it limits torque, it limits horsepower, it limits all of that stuff. And it's like, it's a cost-saving measure that was put in place. But no, I think I'd rather spend money because I want to go win and dominate. And I think that's just really telling of where we are right now.
that's any series. I mean, that's why they're paying $6,000 to sell some of these Crown Vics around the country. You know, $1,500 Crown Vic with a cage, they're selling for $6,000 because, you know, they're still bone stock.
Right. And that's the other part too, to where I think as we sit here on December 30th, 2025, is that's the other thing that comes up, to where I truly think, and this is on dirt as well, this is just across the board, that you know, there's not really a series. I mean, I know with the tuners or whatever you want to call them, sport compacts, all of that, I know that that's designed to be whatever, but you look at that as well. And I saw somewhere online that the question was posed, you know, is this really still an entry level? It's entry level, I think, in the terms of you can get one ready easier, but I think to be competitive, not entry level, because we watch, like you say, with the Crown Vics. I was blown away when I saw the Crown Vics year before last at Pensacola. I'm like, how are they going that fast? I mean, I know that it's police interceptors and old cop cars and however they try to sell this, but come on, man. I think 2025 has really eliminated an entry-level class, in my opinion. I don't see one to be competitive. You know what I mean? To have a legitimate chance to win on any given weekend.
Well, we talked to certain promoters and they don't agree with the term entry level class. They dream cost effective classes.
Right.
There are some of those that are more cost effective than others, but none of them are. The barrier to entry can be less expensive than others, which is how they determine an entry level class. I think that's the deal. But I mean, you're talking like locally and stuff. I mean, you're spending $30,000 on a factory stock that started out to be an entry level class 15 years ago when it started.
Yeah.
And now for half the tracks in the state of Texas that aren't IMCA modified sanction, that's the top class at the racetrack. So it's like, I mean, the evolution, racing is going to evolve whether you want it to or not. But I mean, I think in terms of when it comes through and just like we talk about the Crown Vics, they just got faster and faster and faster. And it's no different when you have a guy with more experience in an upper division on the flow chart, drops down into to play around with a Crown Vic class. He's going to want the fancy ass parts on it. He's going to want the racing shocks. He's going to want the racing spindles. He's going to want the racing gears because that's what he's used to in his upper class. We saw this happen with the dwarf cars in Texas. Perfectly good rule package that ran for 15 years and had 30 cars in a race because you're running box stock shocks, real simple setups, real simple engines, everything else. And then you get guys coming in from big mods, sport mods, limited late models, pavement, all that kind of stuff. And next thing you know, a dwarf car has turned into a mod light.
Yeah.
That's all. It's just a different name for a mod light.
Yeah, I know I've seen many a driver that it's one of those things to where and I think that this is that cycle that we talk about, that 3 to 5 to 7 year cycle of racing classes that changes them so much to where it's like you get somebody that is good, that is okay, that is good in a top level, but it's like, what, I think I need to step down a little bit so I can be more competitive. But they take that budget that they had in the upper level and want to use that in the mid level, and essentially that ruins a class. I mean, the dwarf car thing is a great example. That's one reason that I have a dwarf car sitting that I can't get rid of. That was that's a very fast race car in the era you're talking about. The era now, I mean, come on, no way, absolutely. That car's all.
I mean, they can't even run with the restrictors.
Yeah, that's a home built race car with home built parts and pieces on it. That wouldn't hold a jock to these cars now, and that's just what happens when you do have that. And like I've said before, when you get the guys and ladies that do that move, and I understand that you want to be competitive and you want to go out and you want to be fast and you want to win as much as possible, but that, to me, that limits when you have a class where you see the same guy winning year after year after year or week after week, that's been racing year after year after year, and it's like a common name in that beginner class. That is going to scare somebody in the stands away. It's like, I can't go beat, I don't know, insert the driver's name. Let's just Greg Davidson, RIP, which, by the way, 2025, we lost Greg. Let's say Greg Davidson would have done that. And I don't want to go, I can't beat Greg Davidson.
You don't want to have Greg Davidson in a street stock.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Greg Davidson, an outlaw with missing 2 legs, would still kick ass in an outlaw. That's different.
yeah, and that was the thing. I remember, when I was racing street stocks, and we'd get a driver where it was different back then because we didn't have. Every now and then, you might have a guy that would move down a class. But like, it's like if I signed up in the pits and I saw, for example, here's a great example. One time I saw that I was racing Steve Sims. It's like, well, Steve Sims is racing in our class tonight. He's going to kick our ass. That this guy's been good for so long. I did beat him that night, by the way, but it's like, I don't know, man, but I understand it to where, and I hate that we have the conversation because it sounds like we're shitting on people that actually want to race. But that truly is a perception that people have when you want to get people involved, but yet there's the same people that are winning all the time that probably shouldn't be in that class if you look at it on paper.
Well, I mean, if you have the same name winning, but it's variations of the family name that's winning, a little different. But if it's the same guy over and over, you're like, come on, move up. Well, I can't afford it. Well, then do something else.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, if you're smoking everybody's ass and you're like, I can't afford it, that means you're spending too much in the class that you're in.
Yeah. And it's, call me crazy, but I would think that at some point that would get to be not fun, right? To where it's like you've got everybody outclassed so badly that, it's like you just show up and, I mean, it's that challenging part, right? I mean, you want
Well,
to
I mean,
challenge
I
yourself. You
felt
want
it in the high five. I mean, I'm
to,
a second faster than third place, but first place is a second faster than I am.
yeah. And that's, I look at that and I'm like, you would think that one would aspire to be better, but then again, I mean, if people just want to win, they just want to win. And that's where, with entry level, I remember in the 80s, one of the things that happened in Austin and San Antonio, and again, this is I can only speak for the Texas side, but it was, you had, I don't remember if they called them street stocks or what they actually were at that point, but it was basically, Novas and the whatevers, where you could run that class. I think you could run it 3 years. You could run it 3 years, and then you had to move up. They were not going to let you race in that class. And sure as shit, if you won a championship, if you were a champion in that division, your ass is moving up whether you wanted to or not. Either you moved up or sat in the stands, one of the two. And I mean, I don't know if that's something that would be a good idea for a sport compact or the Crown Vics. But you look,
because the promoter's not chasing an entry fee away. They don't care what class they run.
I know. That's the other part of it too, to where now it's like you want that $35 or whatever it is, because every $35 that you get, I mean, you got to have it. But like you were saying with the Crown Vics, you look across the country at the list of people that are driving those Crown Vics right now that are really, really good. They've probably raced trucks or super stocks or
something else. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm blown away when I watch some of these races across the country, and it's like, oh my goodness, so and so is just dominating the field. I'm like, well, if he wasn't, there's something wrong.
I mean, if you win every,
we're going to piss some people off here.
I know, but if you win every single race, that's to me, that's always been questionable. It's one thing to win a couple of races; it's another thing to win them all.
Yeah.
What are you doing that's so different than everybody else? Oh, it's prep work and all that. I'm sure it is. And homework. But it's probably a lot of color blindness too, and your race car. Because you're probably sitting there, especially in a more stock appearing class, a class with a stock name. If you're winning all the races, your car's probably got a lot of gray area in it.
Yeah. It's always that we hit on something thing, right? It's we really hit on something. Well, yeah, you hit on something that you're not supposed to be doing. There's that logo right there. Well done, BC. I like that.
It turned out really good.
Looks good. Look at that. Happy New Year to all of you, by the way, as we recap and complain about 25 and then project into 26. But and I think that really is something that became evident in 25, is that there's really not that level to start for. And I say this for grown-ups, because for kids, here's another thing I think in 2025 that really grew. I mean, you see it at your track all the time, are the karts racing. When are the go-karts? And I think that quarter midgets are something that continue to be big. That's not new though. I think the quarter midget thing, and now that it has
cycles, it goes in cycles too. It goes down a little bit, then it comes up, it goes down, comes up.
And I truly think that the NASCAR Youth Series helps. I mean, I've had folks ask me, well, what's a NASCAR Youth Series? I'm like, bandolier or quarter midget. Quarter midget is basically what that is. So
what's the quarter midget?
Yeah. It's that power of that NASCAR name that actually does help, I think, in cases like that. But yeah, it really is that right there, to where that entry level thing for we're all about, which we should be. We should be about the youth and about the kiddos, because that's the one thing that, and we're watching. I've been watching it all day, for crying out loud, on this Tulsa shootout thing. A big portion of what Flo is doing is about these kiddos that are out there racing, that are carrying on the racing names like you're talking about. That's very important. But when it comes on a local grassroots level, and everybody's all over that grassroots name now, it seems like, That's something else in 2025 that's become really big that we've been promoting for years. How do you get Joe Schmo that has never aspired to race, but then gets the bug? How do you entice them to come do that? It's not by getting beaten a Crown Vic week after week by the same guy, or a Sport Compact, or a whatever you call it. There's not really a place for them, it seems like. And I think that's a big reason you don't have some of the new older people coming into our sport.
Well, a lot of times you see two things. You see every once in a while you see somebody come in and they hit it off and they do good and they stick it out and they run well. You don't see that as much as you did in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
The difference is now, what happens is that you have someone with access to a lot of funds.
Yep.
And they're able to, buy the best equipment, buy everything they have. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if I had the means, if my family had the means, I'm sure they would have bought me everything. Yeah. If I had the means, I put my niece and nephew in the top racing equipment out there. So I think that's the biggest thing is that there's not a maturation period, right? Where it's like you either start at nobody wants to start at the bottom. Everybody wants to start at the top now. That's why you have 12, 13, 14-year-old kids in damn late models.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to, because they kicked ass in quarter midgets and they think they're going to be able to go straight from a quarter midget to a late model and kick ass in a late model. Because they have the funds to do that.
Yeah.
You can watch any of the replays you want to and know our feelings on that. We love the quarter midgets and we love late models. But man, that's a jump for some of these kids. Now, the ones that are able to do it and do it well, that's fine. That's great. We've had some of those young men and women on this program. And the problem is that the experiment usually doesn't end well.
Yeah.
There are a few cases to where it goes great. But there's a lot of the cases, the sample size tells you otherwise, that when somebody jumps into a car that's too big for their britches, it doesn't end well.
Yeah. And the really bad part about that, Bobby, is it really seems like when it goes wrong, a couple of the victims that get tied up in those things are usually the guys that we're talking about that stick it out in that top division, that have done it for 15 years, but they absolutely, my dad, when he raced, he absolutely refused until the last laps he took. He's like, I am never going, I raced, in this class, I'm not going to go anything below what these rules were when I started. And when it goes wrong with one of these youngsters, they wipe out a guy that's busted his ass to get out there, that happens to be having a good day, that has truly hit on something. And it just magnifies it. It seems like, to where these experiments get a little out of control. Some of the comments here. So with Josh, here's a thought on this, and the bounty. Yes, I mean, I think the bounty's great. You don't need to be having bounties in what we call a more economical division, in my opinion, because if you need a bounty in an economical division, you have failed on the model of whatever that class is supposed to be. The Beaver bounty at SAS, that was in a super stock. That was a late model stock. I don't remember what they were called at that time, but that was with Beaver Stelzig, outrunning Irvin Brighton, Donnie Harelka, Ray Becca. I mean, the list on and on. Gary Chappell. Jerry Grant from Austin, Terry Brooks. I mean, that was a legit, that right there. I don't know what Blue Diamond Engineering, I don't know what Booby and those guys were doing to those Chevelles back in those days, but that's just legitimate racing right there. What Bobby and I are talking about, we're talking about that guy that comes out in a beginner class and just is unstoppable.
I remember the Beaver bounty. That was big news back then.
It's huge. It's huge. They had, I remember San Antonio, they had a bounty on John Kelly, and it was pretty clear and well defined to where you would get X amount of money if you beat him, but he had to be on the track. It couldn't be that he broke down or you had to beat him on, and you couldn't stick him in the fence. And that's the other thing about it that you can go back to 2025 to me, where it's like that whole respect factor, and a lot of this factors into what you're talking about, Bobby, with the young guys that are, have very deep pockets and doing different things. The respect factor has gotten a hell of a lot thinner as the years have gone on. And now as we get into 2026, the respect factor, and I'm not talking about respecting your elders or anything. I'm talking about respecting the guy in the car next to you. The respect thing is really getting thin. It seems like dirt and asphalt, both. I'm not just signaling asphalt.
It's
here.
there. I mean, it's the lack of it's there.
The lack of it. Yeah, that's what I mean.
The lack of it's there. I mean, I think that I think that it becomes just the driver code doesn't exist. It existed 5 years ago, much less 20 years ago. It's gone.
I know.
That there's no driver code really. You somewhat, it's the dog eat dog, do unto me what I do unto you, Wild West, whatever you want to call it. There's that, but there's even a lack of that because it's like we saw that instant with Garrett Albertson.
Yep.
And what was the other guy? 97, Kate Dillard. And we saw what happened with that deal. That didn't end well for either one.
Yep.
And so, you can't, what's the word? You can't race with a vengeance. I mean, it sounds counterproductive. You can race upset and you can race hard, but you can't race with a vengeance to try to get somebody else because then that doesn't end well for both of you. It just tears up a lot of unneeded equipment that gets to, tears up a lot of equipment that's unneeded.
Yeah. I learned in the time that I was actively behind the wheel that if you raced pissed off, at times it was good. I mean, at times it was good, but ultimately, because then the better you get as you're pissed off, the limits are gone. The limits are gone.
You generally wear out the car before the end of the race when you're pissed off.
Right.
You're fast for a few laps, and then the car goes away, and then you're in worse shape than you were before.
Yeah, and then the car wears you out because the car is ultimately the one that's going to win the battle. It doesn't matter what. And the other thing was if you race cautious, that's not good either, because there were times that I would race cautious and most nights I wound up on the hook when I was racing cautious, so it's that whole to where the sport is so much more than just going fast in circles. But to that thing there, the lack of respect, I would love to see that come back to where it's like, there are the unwritten rules, he's at the door, he's at the whatever and all of that. And it's a very much different mindset, all of that right now. A lot of those old school rules just don't apply. And some of the drivers these days don't want to apply themselves to them, I think is the other part of it. And a lot of it is when you got somebody in your ear telling you, chop down, do whatever. I mean, you're going to do whatever they tell you to do because you're letting the spotter drive the car. And that's a whole different discussion. But I'd love to see a little bit of when I see a good, clean, dirty race. You know what I mean? Where you get a couple of guys out there.
Nudging is one thing. Yeah. Bumping is something, but bumping, running, and taking out and beating the ass end off of a car, that's not real racing. But I know I'd love to hear from the comments is that, we talk about the driver's code, but is the fan code different? Before, you would get the fans in an uproar if you took somebody out. Now it's not so much. It's like, oh, damn, on social media, that the wrecks are what gets the most highlights. And the highlights get the most, the wrecks with the highlights, we see them, they get thousands of views. Mm-hmm. It's like piss poor reporting gets 1,000 reviews just on clicks.
Yeah.
It gets 1,000 clicks because it's a piss poor written headline, or you see that with some of these racing outlets where it's like, NASCAR team doesn't run this week after running last week. Well, it's because it's a start and park team or a part-time team. It's like, well, don't major NASCAR. That ain't a major NASCAR team that's parking. That was just a NASCAR team that doesn't run full time. So, you block those pages because you're like, screw you guys. I'm not falling for that again.
Yeah.
But I feel like the fan code has changed a lot over the course of the last 5 to 10 years. It's like you expect the carnage. But I think there's a limit. Bowman Gray proves that there's a limit to the silliness that you'll watch.
Yeah, because you know what? That's gotten old, right? I think in 2025 we saw that shit was. I see the luster has worn off of that. To where folks talk about, I've gone in and kind of peeked in at different stuff there. Those stands aren't as full as they used to be. Yeah, I think that shit gets old to where that and again, to the 2025 point, 2025 elevated racing into social media even deeper, just like everything else. it is all about clicks. It's all about all the, the fighting and all the different things. That's what's going to get the views. And to your point, when it comes to the fans, to where they can, this is the keyboard warrior effect, which is in full effect in 2025, is to where you can literally sit here and post whatever you want to post about anybody else, and
no repercussions.
Free reign. Yeah. And you don't even have to tell people who you are. You can, I know a lot of ballsy people that make posts that are using an alias. Yeah, people, I know who you are. So that's, I get messages where it's like, people talking about this show or another show or whatever, even with my football, with the Texas Sports Unfiltered stuff, in an alias. I'm like, all right, whatever. That's not your real name. That's where I think 2025 is taking that to another level. And to me, and again, respect to Denny Hamlin, totally detrimental to the sport, because that just, it's a bad look. It's a bad look. But at the same time, that's where racing, I think, has grown in 2025, put itself at a level with all these other major sports to where they're all dealing with it too. But I think that racing, it's newer to racing because racing is not quite used to that. But now being totally mainstream and major, it's a growing pain that I think in 2026 has to be controlled a little bit. But how do you control that?
You can't control the social media aspect. You can somewhat try to control you want the social media to be organic. You want something to be like a post that we make on this show about Happy New Year's and Merry Christmas, right? With the Santa stuff we posted a couple of days ago, we got a lot of interaction that said Merry Christmas back. That's the kind of organic social media that you want. That's the main thing you want. It's so different than Racing America, no different than Flow, none of that stuff. All the people want is good positive clicks. It's the age of social media has made it become an opportunity to where used to be, any publicity is good publicity, not so much anymore.
Yeah.
Because now publicity, it goes beyond publicity and goes to perception. We've mentioned that word on the show before. That's where the Bowman Gray stuff, you get the people that are sticking ball guys wondering why there's a dad and a son racing against a father and a daughter trying to take each other out by inches to win championships and running around in circles.
Yeah.
That's not a good look. And that affects everybody, because that's the views that get your average, ordinary, everyday person that doesn't like NASCAR. That gets them, or doesn't like racing as a whole. We'll just use racing as the generic term. That's what they think. That's why it still gets labeled as redneck. The only place that doesn't care is Weber Valley Speedway.
Yeah. We do it to ourselves. I mean, that's the whole thing when you talk about stereotypes and so forth. I mean, we really do that to ourselves. A couple of comments here from Mike Knotts that I think are really, really good for this 2025 wrap-up conversation. I think that when it comes to weekly or bi-weekly or monthly racing, whatever, the inverted starts. I think when it comes to changing competition and to kind of providing a better product for racing, I think that the inverted starts, we've talked about them a lot in the past, Bobby, to where it's like, I remember where, I've mentioned, I'd walk off with a feature race win at Austin and, starting from the inside of row 2. And then the next week they put my ass in the back and I couldn't crack the top 15 in the 30-car field. I think that that's something in 2026 as we kind of just go back. We'll just go back and forth. I think that that's something that would be great for short track racing, because I see it in dirt all the time, to where I know that a lot of the dirt track fans will say that asphalt's boring because the leader is going to take off and it's follow the leader from there. I see that a lot on dirt.
Right. I've called a lot of it on dirt.
Yeah. So that I think that's something that would be great. But at the same time, when we go back to this whole lack of respect and factor and so forth, does that make it worse when you get somebody that's mired a little further back and then they're going to put the chrome horn on there and just, I'm going to pass you however I need to pass you. That's, I don't know, man. It's a double-edged sword when it comes to something like that. Like what Mike's talking about. You think about the drivers like where Mike's talking about there, and Mike Knotts is a great example. Look at Mike. When Mike
50
started
years of racing action.
Absolutely.
At least.
Yeah. The first time I saw Mike Knotts race, he was like one of the founding members of the TIDA. The sedans, not the late models, the sedans was Mike Knotts. Dude's still doing it now. That's a guy that can really talk about racing then versus now. If he says something like that, that's where you put a little stock in what he's talking about.
Well, you know what I'd like to see for 2026 is that we've noticed that it's a catch-22. And what I mean by that is that when the big show comes to town, you have different race procedures, you've got different lineups, you've got different types of way. Like, you know, when Stars comes up, you know, ASA Stars or Southern Super Series comes to your racetrack, fast guys start up front. That's the way it works. Yeah, every once in a while you'll get an invert. You know, Five Flags does an invert every now and then, right?
Yep.
But the problem is that everybody at the local level wants to be race, so they change the local stuff. You know, it wasn't that long ago that when you lined up by point average, that was the point. You started in the back, moved to the front to win races and championships, moved up a class, started in the back, moved up to the front, win races, win championships, and move up. Then, when you get to a certain level of racing competition at your local racetrack, that's when it became apparent that you were able to work as the same rules as the premier touring series that came to class. There's a reason why the late models generally start heads up, and you were supposed to start with point average for your entry level class because you learned a lot coming from the back. But yet, we've seen it time and time again. How many times have we seen an old school super late model, even back in the 80s and 90s? Old school super late model race inverted by points. What happens within 2 laps?
Yep.
Done. You wad up everybody. We saw it a bunch of times in San Antonio in the late 90s when they would do a power invert, and just wasn't a good look. The guys up front weren't used to being up there, and they sit there, get sideways, get squirrely out of turn 2, and boom, there they go. Wadding up 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 10th, 12th. It just.
Yep.
But that's something I'd like to see. I think that if you have the right, especially on a short track level, and this is not just dirt track, this is not just asphalt, this is everywhere, is that you can't have every class be like the touring series, but you have to have the luster of your racetrack overall being good to what brings the people back. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Where it's like, you got to have your core classes. It's like, our friends over at Cotton Bowl, they have the 5 core classes that they run. But yet they don't always come in and change. Like, they don't line up the way the sprint cars line up. They're not going to line up the way the Stims cars line up. So they're going to end up, you have to have the backbone of your local classes to be the show. And when you have a touring series come in, that is just an extra element to the show.
Yeah, because that's ultimately when the touring series comes in, that's going to bring you a big house. It's going to bring you a big gate, front gate, as it's called. But it really is, it's those others that you're talking about that's going to bring people back. I've talked to several people that would go to the World of Outlaw shows out there in March that CBS would have, and they specifically would say, hey, those metal-bodied cars were really cool to watch. Being whatever stock car class was racing on that bill with them. And that really is the other thing that's going to continue to bring you a new fan base is you have to dazzle them with your regular divisions. And I think that Texana does a great job. I think, in my opinion, with the regular divisions. Waco does a good job with their regular divisions that are always there, that are going to put on. Waco from time to time will get a little bit with some of the stuff that we're talking about with some of the shenanigans. But the thing about with Waco is Waco's kind of a different animal because you've got the people that seem to get more animated or whatever. It's those household names that we talk about, Bobby, like you're talking about with Bowman Gray. We don't need to name names at Waco. I think people probably know which ones we're talking about, but those are the ones, but it's not all the time. It's, every now and then there's a little flare from insert the driver and boom, there you go. That gets people animated, but it really is to where those divisions that are there all the time or on the regular race nights, those are the ones that really can intrigue you, and you capture them in a big show. And with dirt, a big show is dirt late models. A big show is any kind of sprint car, because we've talked about that, whether it's a 305, a 360, or a 410. If you say we're going to have sprint cars, that's going to bring people out. And if your factory stocks or, mini stocks or whatever, if they dazzle, I think that, for example, coming up. So next week, Cody Hardage is going to join us next week, and we'll preview the Texas Showdown. I think for 37, with that big ass show that they're about to have, it's going to be a really big opportunity for them to showcase those regular divisions that are going to be on that card. I'm not sure who they are, but people that go there that may be newer to the track that are in that area, if they go and they say, hey, I like that division, they're going to come back. They're going to come back if they see something they like.
That's what the great thing about calling the race at Cotton Bowl next to Johnny Gibson was that the factory stock race was one of the best races of the night.
Yeah.
And people were like, when you explain to people that are more familiar with a sprint car, that is a metric frame GM car. I always say Monte Carlo because that was most of them.
Well,
that's a metric car. That's a metric car that runs on asphalt 10-inch pull-offs. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah, that was the best race of the night. They're like, yeah. How are they running asphalt pull-offs? So that's just the way those cars are designed. And it's like, that brought in a whole new different awareness. I think that's a key word for 2026. We bring awareness. You need to bring awareness to your racers. Yep. I think that it's so, I think we get lost sometimes as race announcers to how much effect that we have on a racer. We could make somebody go from a villain to a hero in the span of one lap. And I think that it's not necessarily a discredit to our announcer friends, but I think that we're able to make superstars out of these drivers. And when you have superstars, you make connections with the butts in the seats. And when the butts in the seats come back, that's what makes the racetrack sustainable and successful.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great point there, because I think, the other thing, what we saw in 2025 is that we did see a lot of these drivers to where they're, and a lot of them, like we've talked to them on this program, to where they're understanding that things like this show, it doesn't matter if there's 10 people watching or listening, or if there's 10,000, that if you get in front of people and you let them get to know you a little bit. I think that's honestly why this show has been successful for all these years, is because people know us, whether they know us or not. They think that they know us through this. We have a lot of friends that watch us all the time that truly know us, but there's people around the country that know us just from this and just know the style of what we do. And I think that that's where in 2025, I was excited to see. And again, this is the young drivers, because when it comes to some of the, longer in the tooth drivers, those guys just capture an audience these days, because it's like, we can tell their story. That's a cool thing about some of the Mike Knotts and the different drivers. We can tell the story of them for them. They don't have to do it. But when these young drivers, I think that they've learned, and it's not just drivers. How many crew members have we talked to and different people on here, to where you feel the passion of them for the sport, and you can't help but indoctrinate yourself into that with them. And I think that that's a big way to capture fans, is that part of it. And drivers do seem to be getting better at that, but we do see people that you put a microphone in front of them and they're like, yep, nope, yep. And I got to tell you, one of the things that drives me the craziest, and I know that you get in the moment, and if you win a race or whatever, and you're like, who do you want to thank? And it's like, you turn around and look at the car, and I'm like, I don't care how excited you are. If there's like 2 or 3 people that have really made this happen for you, you ain't got to turn around and look at that thing.
Spit it out.
Exude that passion. Exude that passion. I don't know. I don't know. Probably not a big deal, but I hate that.
So what are you looking forward to most in 2026?
Man,
we've only got, if we wanted to keep it to the show prep that we talked about, we've got 10 minutes.
No, we can go a little bit longer. 2026, I hope that we keep building on the positives that we have. Again, new fans into the sport, new blood coming in, the advancement of young folks and all of that. The positive vibes is what I hope continues. And I know that's a pretty vanilla answer, but I think that's really important, because there are so many negative things I mean, I'd love to see a lot of the negative go away, and I think I'm kind of giving up on this whole negative thing going away, because it's impossible to not have the negativity these days, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's social media.
yeah, yeah, it's so funny that
My cold hot dog theory.
I, it's funny that I frown as much as I use social media, and I am the biggest social media motherfucker you're gonna find. But at the same time, I'm like, God, it sucks. Because when used wrong, it can just totally screw shit up.
Well, all it takes is one negative comment. Like for those that have never heard my cold hot dog theory, is somebody gets on there and they probably sold 150 hot dogs, but maybe the one out of 149 was cold, and that person got it and they bitched about it on social media. Well, that hot dog turned into a show that ran too late.
Yep.
Nachos with too many jalapenos. Well, this one time at band camp, you know, it just goes on and on. Well, 5 years ago, they DQ'd my ex-boyfriend's husband's, or my ex-boyfriend's sister's cousin's kid for rough drive, and it snowballs from there. And it's like, not going to be there. I think for me, I think the magic word for 2026 for me is going to be understanding. And I think that they need to know understanding why things happen. The biggest thing that we get, especially in our area, we know our area so well because we've been around it for 35 years, is that, or 40, and almost 40 now. But it's like, you get so many questions. You get the negative Nancy guys. Says, well, why did y'all schedule on top of here? And why did you schedule here when this track is racing? Sometimes it's out of spite in some places across the country. Other times you're geographically interlocked, like we are down here in South Texas. You have 3 tracks all within a 2-hour radius of each other.
Yeah.
There's 3 tracks. There's 4 weekends in a month. You can't run a racetrack once a month and be financially viable. And I think that becomes, you're going to schedule on top of each other. And it just becomes, it's what happens when you're in a geographical location. You see it in the Carolinas. How many racetracks within a 3-hour radius of Charlotte comes through, and, they race on a Saturday night. Problem is there's enough racers to go around.
Right.
In that part of the world. Upper Midwest, same thing. You see a lot of Friday night dirt tracks, a lot of Saturday night dirt tracks. There's enough racers to go around. What we're learning is that there's not quite as enough racers to go around in certain areas. Our area is kind of one of them. And so I think the awareness to know that we can count on, and it's not just locally, you can count on your hands the number of racetracks where the promoter is part of the management team.
Mm-hmm.
Very few are that way around the country. That's why a lot of them are falling off to the wayside, because you've got a promoter that comes in to lease the property. They've got to, it's hard to invest a boatload of cash into a facility that you don't own. And so I think that becomes a challenge, but you got to just have an awareness. I think that the fans need to have an awareness about what happens at the racetrack. The drivers need to have an awareness about the promoter and the track owner. The track owner needs to have an awareness about the state of their sport. They need to be able to know what the feel of the pits is. They need to know what the feel of the fan is. They need to have a general awareness about the state of their track and the state of their sport. So I think that for me is the big word I'd like to see in 2026 is awareness. And mainly it's just so we don't get so many keyboard warriors that are trying to ruin everything for everybody else.
That's the thing. I think the charge of everyone needs to be to where it's like, if something goes wrong, if something doesn't go in your favor, like we talk about, do the old school thing, have a conversation, pick up the phone, attempt to make a phone call. If you don't get a hold of the promoter or whoever you're pissed off at, if you don't get them, if you take that step number 1, attempt to reach out to them. If you happen to miss them, because they probably have a real job, they probably have a regular way of making a living that they have to do, so they might not be able to take your call. They're breaking news. I don't know if people realize this or not, but these race promoters are not doing this for a living. They're not doing this to get rich. They're not doing this to retire. If you don't get them, don't go to the Facebook and say, well, so Bobby Chaffee didn't pick up the phone. Well, you know what? Bobby Chaffee may have been doing his job. attempt to resolve things that way. I think because like you're talking about your hot dog scenario with the nachos and the brother-in-law and the boyfriend and the girlfriend and all these different things, that so ultimately what happens is that all starts, and then here comes Rodney Rodriguez Tire and Auto that wants to find a local consumer. Hey, you know what? A racetrack. That would be a great place for me to go spend $100 a week, for whatever, for Bobby Chaffee, the announcer, to say my name one time. And then I see all of that bullshit. I'm going to be like, no, I'm going to go sponsor a soccer team. I'm going to go sponsor a youth football team. I'm doing something else because that is just a crap show. That's kind of the whole domino theory of what this does. And that's to your awareness thing. And that's to where I'm like, I guess maybe my phrase, Bobby, would be for 2026 for short track racing is take a deep breath. 2 of them. Take a deep breath and don't hit send immediately. Because those are 2 things that just kind of, like I tell you, man, every Sunday when I'm traveling, getting up, going to get my coffee, going to go get my continual breakfast at the hotel, I'm getting on Facebook with my reading glasses to see who's pissed off. Every weekend.
You always tell what happened at the racetrack by the response on social media.
Absolutely.
Good or bad.
Good or bad.
You can tell the guys that are happy and the guys and gals that are pissed.
And it's usually the bad. That's the whole thing, to where it's like, look, man, I'm as guilty as anyone. When I'm sitting there scrolling and I see, Bobby Joe won his first race ever, I'm like, oh, that's cool. But then I get over there and there's like something, all this catastrophe going on and somebody pissed off in the stands and doing it. I'm going to stop on that one. I'm as guilty as anybody else, but we kind of need to nip that in the bud a little bit. And I think awareness is the good word. I think you hit the nail on the head. I like that a lot.
Now I just got to remember it, right? Awareness. I have to preach it. I have to preach it and talk about it there at the racetrack.
Preach. It's the Bobby Chaffee. It's a Showtime Bobby Chaffee Awareness Tour 2026. ODS, did you hear that? I think we got to get some new shirts made right there. The Awareness Tour.
The Awareness
That's
Tour
good,
2026.
Dude. Sound like a hairband coming out, a retirement or something. I like that.
Guess it depends on how you spell it.
Oh, yeah. Aware. WEAR.
Yeah.
Awareness.
Work for ODS, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you just tell them what to do and they'll handle it, because ODS can handle anything that you want. On-demand shirts, the official apparel provider of Showtime Bobby Chaffee, of myself, of this program, of Dirty Air, of a lot of you guys. It is on-demand shirts.
Precision, consistency. Just like in racing, these are our values as screen printing, embroidery, and everything in between. If it's branded, we can do it.
On kind of the regional side, Bobby, and maybe this is probably more national. 2026 to me is going to be very, very interesting, because I've woken up not totally early the last couple of days. I think that in 2026 on the sprint car side, high limits, you want to talk about being a high limits in World of Outlaws, it's kind of turning into a little bit of what we're seeing over on the all super late model side on pavement. This is, but not with the viciousness that we're seeing over there. It's very obvious on the pavement side. They don't like each other, but this high limits thing, high limits to me is must see TV, if I'm allowed to say that right now.
I mean, it is to a certain extent. I mean, I like to watch them both, but I think that it became a the deal for me though that makes it competitive is it's not a pissing match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's not. I heard the quote about I heard the best quote ever about Campbell, the guy the oil billionaire that gave all that money to Texas Tech.
Yep. And
they asked why did the guy that helped him get on the board of regents for Texas Tech, why did he end up being in there? Why did he want him on there? And he says, it's better to have him in the tent pissing out of it than be on the outside of the tent and pissing in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a really good analogy that I'm going to have to remember. But I just think that it's not a pissing match yet. I think it will be before the end of 2026. When you've got an established team like Tony Stewart teaming up with Rico and moving to high limit, that could sound the alarm on one side, and it could sound the the horn of victory on. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
you see
really,
it. I mean, you see it. Larson runs both. And at
mhm.
least it's not like they're outlawing one. If you can't run the World of Outlaw sticker.
Yeah.
In high limit, you can't run the high limit sticker in World of Outlaws. But I mean, at least they're not trying to ban the other series drivers from racing.
Yeah, this is where you really start to wonder, like, especially coming off of the NASCAR trial. This is where I'd love to see some text messages right now to see what people are really thinking. But again, that's not our business. But I bet there's some of those messages going back and forth, because it really is getting heated to where I saw, and I thought I had it, but I don't. It's probably on a different computer, to where it's like people are starting to compare. Okay, here's who High Limits has. Here's World of Outlaws. And again, social media, here we are, where everything right now seems to be cordial, I guess, if you want to call it that. Like you're saying, that they're playing somewhat nice, but we're trying to butt them together. Let's stir the pot. Let's make some spaghetti sauce. Let's make some menudo. That's kind of
The
what we
Yankees
do.
that watch this show don't know what menudo is.
Oh yeah, that's true. For those of you that don't know, menudo is a band from the 80s that sang really cool music. That's what menudo is. Other thing, 2026. See, IHRA, since the last time we congregated on this program, 2 tracks.
2 track. Well, 2 drag strips, but
2 tracks. Well, one of them's got a oval.
well, Memphis does, I guess.
Yeah. So I think 2026 is going to be really interesting to see how that factors in. I like what they're doing. I pray that they don't get in the super late model game. I'm like, look, we've got enough of that. We've touched on that. Let that be. Just stay out of that. If you want to poke the bear, poke the Cars Tour, poke the pro late models. I mean, just let's not do anything else there. I wonder how long before IHRA, and here's a prediction for 2026 for me. Wonder how long before IHRA gets themselves a weekly sanction type of series.
2027.
Think so? Think a
I
year off?
I think they'll announce it at PRI at the end. It'll be December 26th at PRI.
Yeah. I've talked to a couple of people that have said, I'm curious to see how long they can sustain. Are they really invested in this? I mean, I think they are. For one thing, they have extremely deep pockets. I mean, there's that part of it. But these are racing folks with IHRA. This isn't some group of dudes sitting at a corporate table that have money to burn and they have to burn it somewhere. I mean, these are legitimate racing people. So I think this is a legitimate factor. I don't want to say legitimate threat, because that only heightens what we're trying to diminish right now. But this is a legitimate player, I guess we'll call it that, into this system.
Well, and if IHRA stuff interests people, stay tuned to the socials and all the things, Revved.sportshow.com, because we are currently shaking trees trying to get some individuals from IHRA on this lovely program here in the first part of 2026 to be able to discuss some of the things that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, that's it's better to hear from them, right? I mean, we can sit here and project and have all the great ideas and all the different mindset and all this, but if you hear it from them, that would probably be a better idea. So we'll work on that. One of the comments here,
it's active, an active tree shaking right now as we speak.
That's right, like a windy day, like yesterday. Question here from Witchy. Racing nowadays is buy your chassis, buy your engine. I've never done this much prep on asphalt tires in my life. We didn't have to put new skins every year, stuff like that. That's I don't know how we get away from that, John. Back when you and I would race at Oktoberfest and super stocks, and you had your home built car and we had our home built car. It's just Mexican family from Central Texas and you guys from Corpus going out there and racing, and those were the good days. This is just the way it is now. I mean, that there's no way back to it, and that's what Bobby and I were talking about with if there's an entry level type of thing or the most economical level, whatever you want to call it. I don't know how we find that is the thing, and I think that's really a charge as well when it comes to 2026 for dirt and asphalt is to find that.
Sorry, I was trying to redo some social media stuff here and lost track.
No. And another thing, when it comes to more of the, like, in our area, I'm really curious to see when it comes to the fireballs or whatever they're going to be called, because now it's like in 37, 2025, you hit a home run. I know that in 2025 was not when the fireballs were derived. I know it's been a couple of years, but to me, the fireballs like blew up, literally. Fireball blew up this year. And I know that different racetracks were running them and invited them to race and trying to concoct their own rules or whatever. But to me, here in South Central Texas, I-37 wins the nod on that one, because they were the ones that figured that part out and brought them. I'm curious to see, what do you think? So do you think in 2026, do you think we see that level off? Do you think that it goes up, or do you think it's not going to go away? It's going to hang around, but do you think we continue to see the acceleration of a fireball, or do you think it moderates a little bit?
I think depending on what happens with certain tracks,
Yeah,
I think that determines the direction that the fireballs go.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it was kind of one of those markets that needed to be filled, I guess we can call it, to where you had supposedly it to me, where I think that 37 did well is because we've heard it for many years around here, to where all these cars are sitting. All these cars need a place to race. 37, in my opinion, has done the best job of getting them on the track, because others haven't been able to pull it off. I mean, not because of anything that they did wrong. I mean, I think a lot of that was momentum and the location there. I think a lot of those cars were there, but they've managed to get them out and get them on the track. So 37, you get a big nod from me on winning that one, because that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that's a good deal. Depending on what happens with some tracks. So have you seen, has Waco put out a schedule yet? I meant to ask you that earlier. I haven't seen it either.
Have not
not that I'm not worried that they won't race, but
oh yeah, no. Well, there's probably some stuff they're still working out there. The only ones, that correct me if I'm wrong, because you sent me your schedule. Like I said, I'm looking at yours and I'm like, holy shit. Because mine is handwritten. I'm like, okay,
I need some colors. It's not as busy as it was before.
Dude, mine is like, I can't reach it down here, but it's like mine is like, okay, I need to be here this day. And that's the only thing that I put down. But the ones that I haven't seen, so I know here, obviously we've got everything regional and national. All of those are out for the most part with the major players. Here I haven't seen, so yours is out, Cotton Bowls is out. I haven't seen a full one from 37. Is that right?
37 haven't. They may release it this week or next weekend.
Yeah. And by the way, Cody Hartage on next week, because we'll preview the Texas Showdown, which is coming up. And I apologize, Bobby. My weeks are all thrown off. I thought that we were in race week now. So it's like, anyway, haven't seen that one. And I have not seen the South Texas Race Ranch. I think those are the only two that I haven't seen. And I may be wrong about that.
For us, yeah, locally down here.
Locally. And Waco. Have not seen the Waco one. So, but I'm sure that March through September, every Friday. That's what I would assume for them, with a couple of Saturday night events towards the end of all that. Quickly on to NASCAR. Story of the year, the lawsuit, obviously, that 2025, when you go back and the books are written about all that, that's going to be the thing that, I think, the way the championship ended, the way that the championship, the way the championship is decided, that became a factor as well. But it will all be the lawsuit. And I guess when you bookend all of that, it's going to be that when it was all said and done, that the teams got themselves a major win and bucked the system, I guess. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Car continues to be a problem.
Cars still sucks. TV money's a little bit going to be more evenly distributed. That's great. The sustainability seems to be there. Now we just need to figure out what the championship format's going to be. Like we said a couple of weeks ago, we know that it won't be one race, and we know that the playoffs will still be there. So that much we know.
Yeah. All of that, I think, going back and looking at it, I mean, I think in 2025, you can't look at the NASCAR Cup Series and Shane Van Gisbergen. I mean, as great of a story that is, you're going to have folks that say, yeah, but he can't win on ovals. Give him time.
He'll get there. He'll get there.
Yeah, just give him time. The folks that say that are going to regret that when he finally starts winning on ovals, because that's really scary. Me as an older guy, I'm glad that it's not a 21-year-old guy that's going to be out there kicking their ass, because that's a seat that dude is a racer. And I think that's one of the things that I know a lot of folks are intrigued just by the way that he's gotten here. But that guy, if you're older, you should like that story, because it didn't. That didn't Ty Gibbs. That didn't one of the
35 years young, I think, is how old SVG is.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a major story in 2025 that you have to go back and look, and you think, when you think about him in 2026, how does he progress? I mean, what differences do we see? I'm really excited for the 2026 Daytona 500. Number one, just to get back on the track and get over all this other bullshit that we've been going through. But I do think that this, dare I say, I think Kyle Busch is going to win the Daytona 500, dude. I really do.
Well, my heart says that Brad Keselowski would win it, but not after he broke his leg. He may not even be 100% come Daytona.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, he was skiing, right? Is that what he was doing? Come on, Brad. What are you doing, man? What, are you trying to have a life, for crying out loud? Yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, 4 kids.
Yeah. And I am looking forward to where I think the O'Reilly series, I think is O'Reilly Auto Parts series, is going to continue to grow, and I think produce some really good racing. To me, that 2025, that series took itself to a different level, I think, with the competitiveness of it, and I think with its own sole TV package. That 2026, I'm looking forward to see how that grows, because I do know, I can tell you that the CW is even more deeply rooted and invested in that than they were before. So I'm curious to see where they take that. And then, Bobby, we got to touch on this 2026. I'm looking forward to what happens next with streaming. What happens next?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what happens next with the show.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I will tell you that it was interesting this weekend when it came to, or this over the holiday with Christmas. How many of those games were on streaming? It's not just racing, guys. It's not just racing.
Needed 5 different streamers to be able to watch all the football, NFL football, this past week and a half.
Yes, sir. Needed the Peacock, needed the Prime, and you needed the Netflix. All of that. And you know what? Those football fans, they just bought it.
That's right. America's team. They followed America's team.
They
didn't bitch about it as much as racing fans did.
They just bought it. That's it. Hey, man, great 2025. And as always, this program just continues to grow. We'll continue to grow. Always looking to kind of, stretch this thing out, find, we hit a lot of different avenues this year. It really is cool reflecting back on 2025, how the show has grown from a little audio only thing to janky iPhone 5C video presentation to now a full-fledged thing. So 2025 has been pretty good to this whole show still.
Yeah. 10 years, coming up on 10 years in September. But we're in the middle of our 10th year, if that makes sense. The 10th birthday come in the middle of 10 years of broadcasting this wonderful little show. So for those,
and you and I look better than ever.
That's right. Well, it's because the HD cameras are not, we got a little better camera, a little better lighting.
Yeah, right. It's like I meet people in person and they're like, "You look better on video." I'm like, "Well, yeah, for those I shave for all those and
lighting, yeah."
Yeah, I hadn't done Texas Sports Unfiltered or this show. I hadn't done anything, media related for a while. And dude, like on Christmas Day, I had a full beard. I was totally gray with a beard and everything. The kids come home and they're like, "Dad, you're old," because they see me here and they're like, "Hey, you're much older in person." Oh, yeah. Tends to happen.
How did the son-in-law dinners go on Christmas?
It's good young dudes, showed up, good firm handshakes, both of them, firm handshakes and a bro hug. They do the bro hug. So, they're young. So they do all that. Very, seem to treat the young ladies with respect, even though, both of those young ladies are a pain in the ass to deal with. I'm sure that they'll eventually figure that out if they haven't already, but at least they acted like they haven't figured that out already. But it's a good day. Very different. Very, very, very different around here. We slept in. It was nice. How about you guys? How was Xmas for you guys?
Yeah, low key.
Yeah.
It was weird. Yeah, a little low key.
Yeah.
But I did get a diecast. The wonderful wife actually bought a die. I sent you that picture, didn't I?
Yeah.
She actually she told me not to buy it. I said, why? She said, just don't buy it. So I sent her some screenshots and some free shipping codes and stuff like that. And next thing you know, here it comes, popping in the mail a couple of days late because of the closures.
Yeah. The
Don't know
wife
where the hell I'm going to put it. As you can see, I'm limited with space behind me, but I don't know exactly where the hell I'm going to put it.
Yeah, I got lots of great things from the wife and family. Obviously, I got everything I wanted because I bought it myself. So that's
the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, that's where Christmas gets different as you get older. It's like I don't want to wait. I'm gonna just buy it. I found it. And some of my Christmas presents have not shown up yet, so eventually they'll get here. New Year's Eve tomorrow. You guys obviously be safe. If you have a plan, you're going to be out and about. If you're, especially you Corpus Christi folks, I know you guys are a little crazy. You San Antonians, my folks in Alabama, you guys be calm. Be calm. How about yourself? What you got on the agenda? You going to pop some bubbly? You going to watch the ball drop? What are you doing? I'm hoping I can stay up that late.
Dude, I have a bunch of leftover fire that I didn't get to shoot off when we got back from Vegas because it was raining. I also proceeded to buy a couple of $100 worth of fireworks at 70% off. I spent a couple $100 at the 70% off. So I've got a rather large assortment of boom boxes, if you will. I have one that's so big it says that you must position the box in front of the audience this particular way to display the right set of booms.
That's one of those ones they have like at the park.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun because the place we're shooting them off, the neighborhood across the street is in the city limits. The place we're shooting them off is not. So it pisses the neighborhood off in front of the house. But a couple people were ready for it. They were like, y'all going big. We're like, oh yeah, I got a couple $100. My buddy spent about $350, and of that $350, literally most of it was 70% off.
God damn.
Yeah, I'll text you the picture when I get it all ready to go. It's probably, and most of it was, at least I counted up today. I've got 10 boxes. Most of them were 25 shots. The minimum smallest one I have is 18, and there's 10 boxes.
Dude, you need to like charge admission, like over at the closest street over there. Put up a cone and charge like $2 for people to drive in there and watch that shit. And you need to get you a subwoofer and play some patriotic and Happy New Year music. For 2026 when you're doing that. You need to call John Molise, get him out there.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Actually, I just got a text from the Puppet Master. We're talking about some computer stuff.
Nice. Wonderful. I think for me, it's going to be the number one thing is to try to stay up till midnight. Actually, tomorrow will be easier because I actually am working tomorrow. I've got Cheez-Its bowl game post game, so I'll be up for that. Or well, that's afternoon game. Be up for that, and then just kind of ring in the new year with some folks, and look forward to 2026 and everything that it's going to bring us.
Yeah, I'm going to the end on this show.
Okay.
To watch the Alamo Bowl with TCU, and the wife is forcing me to pick up some Herbert's Taco Hut on the way down there.
I fucking hate you right now. You know that?
I know. I just had to tell you.
My God, a Herbert special with an extra enchilada right now.
In fact, I just got the food. We're wrapping up. She says, just place the order. Y'all stop yapping.
You suck. All right, Liz. God damn it. All right, we're out of here. Been a great 2025. We're looking forward to doing this again next week. I-37 preview. Also probably going to have a preview of the Wild West Shootout. That's probably going to be a Tuesday evening program. Hopefully, if everything lines up. Seriously, you guys be safe tomorrow. Enjoy that New Year's, and thank you for another great 2025 here with #Real Race Talk. Bobby, be safe, man. Have fun. Enjoy your fucking Herberts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, next time you're down this way, I still got a bunch of T-shirts to give you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, guys. Happy New Year. We'll do it again next week. #Real Race Talk. It is the Revved Up Sports Show. Happy 2026.